What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of Trafford Talk, and talk we must. Yes, we've got a lot to talk about today. Rumours of investors, takeovers. We've got backing of managers / head coaches. We've got talks about stadiums, academies, anything else in between. New contracts as well. It's got to be a jam-packed show, a busy show indeed. Big up to James from the Puppeteers. Big up to Scott. We got a special extra large, extra packed version of Trafford Talk this week because we've got so much to get into. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Where do we begin? Where do we begin, guys? People don't.
Everybody wants the takeover.
Yep, exactly. We've got investments happening, possibly. Let's get into this, Let's get into this because there is a lot of confusion, speculation, doubling down as well in the last sort of hour or so. For those who haven't seen, yesterday evening, late last night, Turki Alalshikh put out this tweet. And he said, the best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners. Everyone, rightfully so, went, what? What are you talking about? Where did this come from? And was waiting for people to sort of really play down this, say it's not true, he misspoke, or words been taken out of context. That kind of happened earlier today with Simon Stone and others that said that their Manchester United sources rejected these claims made by Turkey that the club was in advanced negotiations over a sale to a new investor. So we think, well, right, it's done. It's not even that much of a big deal. Then, in the sort of last 90 minutes, a bit more happens about this. First of all, TalkSport comes out and goes, yeah. Well, actually, what he's talking about is a group from the UAE saying that actually it's got nothing to do with Turki Alalshikh. It's got nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. He's just talking about what he's heard. And what he's heard is in regard to investors possibly in the UAE. And you go, that's a bit strange. They also said that there's no Saudi, there's no Qatari investor or entity involved. And also, interestingly, it says it's also understood the Post has taken Manchester United sources once again by surprise, going, we don't know that much about this. So you go, that's TalkSport still there, take it with a pinch of salt, this, that, and the other. But then you get Turkey in the last sort of hour or so, he's posted again, sort of doubling down on what he said, saying yesterday's post about Manchester United's potential sale meant one thing. The club is in an advanced negotiation phase with a new investor. Just to clarify, I am not the investor, nor are they from my nation. I'm posting this as a fan who wishes the deal to happen, though it might not necessarily happen. So a sort of backtracking, but doubling down there
might
as
happen,
well.
might not.
From Turkey. James, I'll start with you. What do you make of all of this? Have you heard anything? Are you just as surprised as everyone else? What do you make of this all?
Yeah, so obviously when I saw it yesterday, I went, that's weird. Unlikely, weird, but I guess worth checking out, worth looking into, seeing if there's anything in it, because if there is, what the hell? Might as well ask, might as well find out. And there's a lot of confusion that goes around these types of rules. One of the things that I think should be noted that gets said a lot is that they don't necessarily have to tell people if they were talking to someone about selling the club. But when the club come out and say, no, we're not in talks, that's a little bit different. It is a publicly traded company, Manchester United. And the club itself is essentially, from a legal standpoint, the Glazers. They're the majority owners. They're the de facto controlling party of the club. The club comes out and says, yeah, we're not selling the club. We're not in talks with anybody to sell the club. It's a pretty strong denial when they say things like that. I can't find out anything that would suggest in any capacity there's any truth to anyone selling anything. I think, though, if there is anything here, it's one of two things, which is either there's all the stadium aspect. There's funds to be raised. There's real estate to be purchased. There's money to be made for a commercial investor or somebody with ties to these things. We do know there has been a lot of investment into, the city by different parties in the Middle East, if I'm not mistaken, via Man City and otherwise as well. And so I'm really more curious to see if this is related to a little bit of telephone here. Like, what if somebody's looking to invest in Manchester United, sort of, maybe helping to fund the stadium, maybe they're buying some of the real estate for the ground, maybe entering into some kind of partnership that could lead to even future ownership or future shares. I do know for absolute certain that that idea has been explored by Sir Jim and Ineos even before he ever got into the club. The new stadium thing was like an idea of his that he wanted for sure to do since, before the takeover happened. If he was to get United, and there was exploration into that, into them. And I know that there's been companies they've met with even in the last few months. So I'm curious to see if it's something related to that. And that's where I would lean at the moment, because I do think a denial is meaningful from the club in terms of a sale, but I would lean towards there being maybe something in this on that side of it.
Scott, what do you make of all of this? I mean, is it just, once again, we saw it during that whole takeover or strategic alternatives process when, just stuff just kind of snowballed and then turned out to be nothing? Or is there, like James sort of saying, the possibility of something to this, but maybe not what people necessarily think?
I think the key word here is the use of investor. I think that's the big thing that I've taken from this. Like, honestly, when I saw it yesterday, I just kind of, I saw it on the timeline. I didn't really pay much attention to it. You kind of, as you said just now, we're so conditioned on thinking, this has been talked up before for years and it never really amounted to anything. And we know where the ownership is now. It's a convoluted, complicated situation. Which would probably be very difficult to enter into for anybody who was looking to kind of take over the club anyway. And I think the use of the term investor makes me think, like what James was saying there. I've thought it throughout the day, really, that maybe it would be more linked to the stadium. I don't know anything. I have no intel. I don't know. I'm very much on the side of all of these rumors over the last few years have just made me kind of like brush them off. But I do think that he's doubling down. He's very well connected. I think he leads Riyadh season, right? And this is a pretty prominent guy in the space. So like, if he's coming out and saying things like this, I think you've got to take it with some merit. You've got to look into it. And I think it's interesting to see that this has come around again. But I think the excitement from certain parts of, are we going to get billions and billions of pounds to spend it on players to fix the team? That's not what I'm thinking. I've got to be honest. But.
Yeah, I don't know. I really did expect this one because, like I said, he tweeted last night, and I woke up to it this morning. I got a message from Flex, being like, "What is this?" I was like, "I don't know. I have no idea what this is." And I really did expect at some point in the day, to a lot of the journalists to go, "This is so not a thing, wide of the mark, this, that, and the other." And I will say the response to it has been quite curious, because the response has been, well, Man United are surprised by this. But they've not, that's not a denial, I suppose. It's quite surprised by this.
They did deny it, by the way, in the BBC and otherwise.
But even that's going Man United sources. Is that them reaching out to Man United? Or is that the people just that they usually reached out to going, look, above my pay grade? I don't know. Could it be something like that?
I don't think so.
I'm coming from the point of, look, and Scott will knows this as well, because I know Scott's a wrestling fan. With they got WrestleMania, all right, about a month ago, and when that happened, it got leaked out like 24 hours before from Turki, Alalshikh himself, on Snapchat of all platforms, and they very quickly pulled it back. Like an Arabic press release came out, and they were like, "Oh, that was a mistake." It was announced the next day, and they were like, "It's happening." And bear in mind, a couple of years ago, the idea of hosting those events over there, the big ones, was impossible. Like, no way. They would never do that. But they'll just keep throwing sort of money at it. So, I don't know. He's a well-connected guy, in the world of sports, combat sports. I don't know. If he's heard something, who are we to say that's not true? You know, Turkey, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about that, though, is I would say that I think it is a little more complicated than that when you talk about like United side sources. Like there's sources and there's sources, and you kind of know who I'm talking about when you're talking about like, oh, if you want to go ask the club something official, you know who you're going to ask. And you know that they technically their communication back to you, I do believe, is pretty much official in that respect. There are things where they might be saying, I don't know, during the whole takeover, I asked plenty of questions to people at the club, people all over the place, and all sorts of different things. And if they didn't know, they would just say, I don't know, it's nothing to do with it. But there were very often times when they say, no, we're not. And it was the truth at that point in time. They were informed to that level of knowing if the club was on the verge of being sold, essentially. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, let's look at what else happened today. Sir Jim and Ineos and them are putting out surveys to fans about ticketing things for the new stadium project. These are not the actions of people who are on the verge of not being owners of the club, if you get what I'm saying. Generally speaking, when an owner of any business or organization is on their way out, you get a freeze on all activities because you have to. There's no other way to do it. So nobody is talking like that. And honestly, it's really odd. I get it, but I don't know, man. When it comes to these business circles are really, really big. I mean, there are people I think if there was something seriously going on, I do think there are other people who would know it as well. I mean, beyond that, I mean, when you're talking about the scale of finance of these things, I get that when there's nations and things involved, but I don't particularly believe in secret $5 billion deals of publicly traded companies. I'm not gonna lie. I'm skeptical.
I don't. But then could this be, Scott, a situation whereby it is technically true that maybe someone does just invest in the club, they purchase 1% of it, or they, you know what I mean, or they just do something like that? I mean, you see this all the time now with former athletes or former players or whatever. They all own minority in different clubs, right? Was it Tom Brady at Birmingham, LeBron at Liverpool? Is it Michael B. Jordan's got a bit of Bournemouth? Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's just they come in and get a couple of percent. Could that be a possibility?
Potentially. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I think if there's any Glazer like shares to sell, then they all have to agree, to it if one wants to get out. And like it's incredibly, incredibly convoluted. Like, I think if it was that Glazer asking price or the 10 billion number being met or whatever it is, I think we'd be seeing this reported differently. I'm more inclined to think that the stadium, everyone's asking, how's this stadium going to get funded? Like, say stadium sponsors, like advertising, all of this is kind of where I'm thinking here. Like, we don't know where that money's going to come from. We just don't. It's not really been cleared up or anything like that. And like we're all a little bit dumbfounded.
It's already changed, hasn't it?
Maybe.
The tent's not even a thing anymore.
Maybe we can get the tent now. Maybe we can get the tent now.
It's a tent investor. Yeah, it's the tent investment we needed.
Oh my God, could you imagine? A couple of super chats here. Frozone says, James, where's my super suit? Every stream.
Every time. Stream. I don't know. Yesterday was in mine. James, where's my super suit? I don't know.
Owen says, wouldn't Jim have first refusal if this was true? Doesn't
matching
he have that?
Rights, I think.
Yeah, matching rights. Yeah. But then this is to Scott's point. This is how convoluted it is as well. But there's also a thing where the Glazers, like, they can still sell the club if they want to. It's very, very technical, and like we're sort of saying, you just would think it wouldn't be broken by Turkey on a Friday, Wednesday night. So yeah, by the way, I've heard Man United, they're going to be sold. Jason says, definitely something going on. No smoke without fire. Plus, Turkey doesn't need the clout, so I don't know why he would say that. Plus, according to TalkSport, apparently the investment is from the UAE. Yes, we mentioned that earlier on. Well, we'll have to watch this space, I suppose, when it comes to it. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll tweet again. Maybe we'll find out a bit more context in the coming days of, oh, it was just a rumor that he heard, or this was about the stadium. We shall see. Of course, if we find out any more, we'll let you know in a future video. But as is the case with social media, got an international break, got time to fill. So I'm sure this is what we'll fill in the next couple of weeks.
At least it's something.
It's something.
I was expecting an international break of just nothing, like the last one after United won a game. And this week it's been Bruno's not going anywhere. Like, well, Bruno doesn't want to go to Saudi. It's been Maguire's new deal and all that kind of stuff. And the stadium, the interview with that Ratcliffe did yesterday, all of that, like it's passing by, isn't it? And there's loads to talk about.
I do hope there's something in this because, like you
Yeah.
said, we haven't heard anything about how there's funding for the stadium or anything like that. And commercial partnerships and new investors, these things could all help spur these projects along and are probably going to be necessary. And it would be, I mean, we end up with 3 owners or something like that in the end that end up with the new stadium and the new Old Trafford and regenerated ground and all that. Well, cool. You know, something's got to give somewhere.
Yeah, we did hear about that over the summer, didn't we? That Omar Barada was effectively going around pitching the project to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Maybe they got someone.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they got someone to bite on the hook sort of situation.
Yeah.
So we shall see with that. Scott brought it up. I do want to talk about Jim Ratcliffe's comments yesterday about Ruben Amorim and the 3-year project, 3-year plan, or 3-year amount of time he's going to give Ruben Amorim. So for those that didn't see it, he did admit, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, that he has not had the best of seasons, Ruben Amorim. He says Ruben needs to demonstrate he is a great coach over 3 years. That's where I would be. The press sometimes, I don't understand. They want overnight success. They think it's a light switch. He loves that light switch phrase, Sir Jim. He says, you know, you flick a switch and it's all going to be roses tomorrow. You cannot run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one every single week. He also said, he compared it to the early days of Arteta and Sir Alex. He says, I remember the pressures that were calling for Ferguson sacking in his first 2 years. Look at Arteta with Arsenal. He faced a tough time in his first 2 years. We ultimately driven by results, but we have to be patient and look at the results in the long term. I believe there are a lot of good things at United, and we need to be patient and have a long-term plan. It's not just a matter of pressing a button, aka flicking on a light switch. He also says when he was said about giving 3 years to Amorim, he said yes, because these things don't happen overnight. Scott, what did you make of his comments there? There were some rightfully, there were some people that were outraged. 3 years? Does he not see what's going on? There were others that were saying, see, calm, there's a plan here, a long-term vision. What did you make of Ratcliffe's comments?
Well, over the course of today, I've just kind of thought, you just shouldn't have spoken at all, because we were in a nice little quiet phase, not talking about the manager. Now everybody's talking about the manager again. To be honest, like we've all been asking for like transparency, and Jim Ratcliffe probably talks more than any owner I've seen in world football at the moment. I've got to be honest. He's doing these, or if it's not Ratcliffe, it's Barada talking on preseason tours and that kind of thing. Like the transparency is really good. I think the issue is that people don't like what the content is in the transparent. You know, that's the problem.
We want you to speak, but only what we want to hear.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, I think that the 3 years comment is what, like, when I first saw it, I was like, I'm sure this is going to go down well, because everybody's thinking I can't take another 2 years of this. I don't think he's not giving Ruben Amorim carte blanche to just lose for the next 2 years. I don't think he's doing that. If you watch the section or you listen to like the interview, he was pressed on him first, and he said, "Yeah, he's a good guy." And he was pressed on it again. He didn't want to say it really, but it was, you know,
he
I
didn't
think it's
even
a new
technically answer whether he would get the full season. Technically,
I know
he kind of got pushed on it a bit. Yeah,
but what do you want him to say in that situation? Like, he could not do the interview, which is cool. He didn't have to do it, but people want transparency, especially now where the manager's position is under question. He's not going to sit in that interview and say he's got 5 games. If you don't win them all, he's fired. He's not going to say that, is he? So, like, I think what I liked about it was he showed up and he's thrown support. And maybe it's like push the noise aside for a little while. Maybe we don't have to think now if he loses at Liverpool narrowly or something like that, that we're going to be back in they're going to sack him tomorrow kind of mold. But I don't think it's giving him complete free reign to go through the rest of the season and finish 15th again. Like, United have been very clear. I think they need to qualify for Europe financially as well as like for progress. And if Amorim's finishing 12th or 10th or something like that, you haven't got much to believe in. I know people don't really have much to believe in at the moment. If that's the case at the end of the season, maybe I think there's a big possibility he ends up going. But I understand like what he's trying to say is managers need time. He's compared. I don't love the Ferguson comparison because it's a completely different world. But I tweeted today in our 18 months into Arteta's reign at Arsenal, it was like the start of his second season. He lost his first 3 games. They lost 5-0 to Man City. I remember that. I remember it. I worked on it. I reflected on it. I discussed it. It was the end. It seemed like the end for Arsenal. I've pretty given up. So it's only one line that he says on Arteta as well. So I think, look, these things have a habit of getting taken out of context and analyzed to the nth degree. I just like the transparency personally.
James, what did you make of it? Do you agree with Scott? You like the transparency? People hyper-focusing on certain words, i.e. the 3 years, when he does also mention that it's a results, you're driven by results as well?
Yeah, I think he was just making a point. I mean, at the same time, Ruben Amorim only has 19 months left on his contract, so it's going to be a bit difficult.
He's not even got a 3-year years. Yeah, 2.5.
He never even got 3 in the start, so he certainly doesn't have 3 years left at the moment. But yes, he has targets. He has specific targets. What he's trying to do there, which I think is the correct thing for any owner to do, for whoever's there as manager, is take the pressure off a little bit from the outside. The pressure should be internal. The pressure should be from within. This is where we need to be. This is where we're trying to get to. And we're trying to sort it out as a team. The manager, the coach is not the enemy of the team. It's not the enemy of the owners. It's not the enemy of the players. It's the person. They want to work together to try and achieve the kind of results that they want to achieve. And that goal is Europe. And I think, honestly, if there isn't an upward, the point, and Sir Jim's described it before as an upward linear progression towards where they want to be. There needs, over 3 years, you should see a linear progression over those 3 years if someone was to get 3 years. And that's kind of the point. It's not like 15th for 3 years is okay. And suddenly, as long as you're competing at the end of it, it's all good. You want to see that you're building towards something. So I think the words are not that important. It's just a matter of, as well, maybe rubbishing a few of the claims that he's going to be sacked, if he loses one more game or something like that, because that's not true. Ruben Amorim probably will be here for a while. That's been essentially the case for some time, and we'll get the chance to turn it around. And, well, I say turn it around. Technically, this season, he's about 1 point off of their target, so he's not exactly that far off what they want him to be at this point in time. But we'll get a chance to see if we can continue growing. Personally, I think the Arteta comparison is fine. I did a little research last night because I saw quite a bit of revisionism over the Arteta period when he first came in. A lot of people saying, no, we all knew in Arteta's first season that it was okay. We all knew in Arteta's first season that everything was going well and everything was great and he was doing stupendously and all that. I went back through a certain somewhat affiliated YouTube channel here to look at everything that was going on through the months of, I think, October, November, and December 2020. Every title, Arteta out, Arteta out, Arteta out, Arteta out. Every interview, every comment, Arteta needs to go. Not good enough. Arteta needs to go. This was back in 2020. I read a comment that did crack me up because I said, if I could replace 2 names in there, I've read that comment 1,000 times. And it said, Edu thinks Arteta is doing a good job. We'll win a trophy from the championship next season. And I swear to God, I've seen United fans say that about Wilcox and Amorim many times over. So, yeah, I got a little petty and did a little bit of research, but Arteta was on 14 points after 14 games in his first full season. I think we'll end up better than that 7 games from now, personally. If not, then that's tricky, but they were in 15th by Christmas in his first season. I think we've got to do better than that, but the comparison is apt. Yeah, his first full season, like, because he was appointed mid-season, right? And he came in, got some transfers in the summer, did whatever business. And then his first full season, they were in 15th. They had 1 win in 11 against your mighty old Manchester United. It was that they beat during that run. It was bad. We can't be that bad. We can't be that bad. And it's not to say that struggling in your first season means it's going to turn around. That would be like just drawing patterns that aren't there. But yeah, I mean, the idea that Arteta was like, everyone was good, he was cool, everybody was fine with it. People were asking for him to be sacked for a long time in the early days.
It's funny because I worked at the time and was doing shows weekly, like, you know, the United fan, Liverpool fan, Arsenal fan, those kind of like mixes on YouTube. And I remember like my mate Harry, the Arsenal fan, he was very much give Arteta time, and he was getting so much stick for it. I remember it because I lived through it. I worked in it. I remember and all he said really was Arteta had a difficult time. You know, he had a difficult opening few years or whatever it was. So like these things take on a mind of their own. That's just the way that it goes. We're in an international break as well. Those quotes are going to linger around and hang around and be discussed for ages afterwards as well. And just before one more thing, Owen, like you've got to remember as well, United, their plan that they've stated, they haven't stated, it's been reported. 2028, Project 150. They're looking at like getting towards that time to get back to the top and competing for the title or winning the title or whatever it is. So people just have to learn to be patient. Really, really do. It's hard now because everything's moved so fast. But they've taken 10 points from 7 games so far. They're 10th in the league, 6 points off the relegation zones, 4 points, 5 points off top 4. Look, that's probably how he's judging it. I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with it. I just think that's probably how he's judging it. So anyway.
This is why I love football and I love fan debate, because this morning I was on the show with Flex and he was adamant that the Mikel Arteta comparison is bullshit. Basically, he was adamant that it's BS. I'm not. I agree with what Scott said earlier on. I did a whole thing this morning. I don't like the Sir Alex comparison because I feel like we are so obsessed with finding the next and someone that's going to be in the club for 20 plus years and this, that, and the other. And also when Sir Alex took over, late 80s, it's 2025 now, you know, a long time ago. A lot's changed since then. So I don't like that comparison. The Arteta one, I just feel it's a dangerous path when we do the comparisons to anything, because then none of them are the same. You know, it's the same when people do it with Jurgen Klopp. You know what I mean? They'll go, well, Klopp, you know, and you go, well, all right, Jurgen Klopp, you know, his first full season, what did they qualify for the Champions League or something like that? And also, Jurgen Klopp came into a side that the year before, the season before he came in, they bottled the title. You know, there's my point being is there are so many different contexts to all of these comparisons. Therefore, I don't know if you can just look at the Arteta one and be like, well, he got time, therefore it's definitely going to work.
With the Arteta one, I think you can, because of the cultural aspect of things. If you remember, Arsenal had a lot of players on massive contracts. They had Aubameyang, they had Ozil, they had other players. I remember they released them. They cancelled their contracts, you know?
Yeah, no transfer fees,
the cultural thing is something that I've been, like, I think that is a big problem. Like there was
a lot of interesting similarities. Yeah, because they had the thing where, of course, the Cronkies ended up taking over more of it at the same time, right? Whereas previously they were sharing the investment, and you kind of almost had a mini takeover where suddenly they were willing to invest in the club. They finally appointed like a new sporting director. They finally moved on from their legendary manager and looking at the past. And then they were trying to turn over this whole culture thing. It's a weird one. But the thing I think is important to note here is that it's not that Arteta being successful. Well, is he? I mean, hasn't won a trophy since that interim period after all that money spent. So I'm not so sure it's the best comparison in that respect either. It's not that it will be successful just because Arteta was struggling. It's more the fact that there were similar struggles. Whether you turn it around is a different story entirely. And I think that's where the pattern goes off. Like, just because Sir Alex turned it around and became the greatest manager of all time, just because Arteta turned it around doesn't mean it will turn around. It just means that there were struggles at the beginning. We can't say that every time a manager struggles, they're going to turn it around, because every sacked manager has also struggled at one point in time as well. It's just how much time do you give them? But I think the only pattern I would say that is really, really similar is that the people in charge at Arsenal thought Arteta was doing a good job and the fans didn't. And that is exactly what you're seeing at United right now. The people in charge at United think that Amorim is doing a good job in a lot of the areas that they are measuring and looking at that don't necessarily immediately translate to results. I know. I'm just saying that is the thing. That is the thing.
Because the thing is, when they talk about Arteta, I always bring up this one. Arteta's not on that list. You know what I mean? That's a rough list. You know what I mean?
That's
the
a rough
points
list,
from the first 33 games, who turned it around on that list? You can't even say Roberto Martinez at Wigan, can you? Yes, he won the FA Cup, but they got relegated that season. You know what I mean? Like this.
It's rough, man.
I suppose it's the company that Amorim's keeping, isn't it? That's the problem. It's the company.
No, is it him?
Keeping.
Is it him? Here's a question that I would have. Let me make one other small comparison here. When Arteta joined Arsenal, they had the Golden Boot winner. Aubameyang scored 30 goals for Arsenal that season. Højlund scored 3. 3. And that is the level. Like, you can put it all on the manager. It's very easy to do so. But we were shit. And the team was really, really in the dumps. And then Marcus Rashford is probably our best forward in terms of a goal scorer. Ends up essentially getting kicked out of the team 3 games into his tenure for reasons that we probably won't discuss again today. It's a weird I think the situation at United was worse, significantly worse. It's hard to put it all down to a manager when they come in right off the bat and things are like that. You know, that's my perspective on it, but everybody's going to see that quite differently.
Yes, definitely. Jason says, Owen, bring up the Amorim stats to stop this Arteta nonsense. I just did. Jason says also, Arsenal released their players, but we want to give Harry Maguire a new contract. We're going to be talking about Harry Maguire in just a bit. Just very quickly as well, in these comments that were done by Sir Jim yesterday, he did say a little bit about the academy, which I do want to talk about as well, because these comments rubbed people the wrong way. And I do think actually people kind of misunderstood what he's saying here.
Totally did.
So he said, the academy must constantly produce talent. This helps you financially. Once again, loves this phrase. It's not like flipping a switch. You don't solve the academy's problems overnight. It takes time. We have just recruited a new academy director. He also said the academy has really slipped up Manchester United. You need the academy to be producing talent all the time. It helps you financially. Now, the reaction from maybe those not so sane in the fan base, which is, see, you know, all he cares about is making money and doing cuts and this, that, and the other. He only wants to bring through young players to sell them. That's all he cares about. That's all Ineos cares about. And I push back on that going, well, that's not really what he's saying there. He's being dictated to by the new rules of football, which is academy players. That's your bread and butter in terms of if you want to sell them, pure profit, that can help you buy players. Also, I think he means it can help you financially in terms of if you can develop a young player that can turn into a £100 million player, you don't then have to spend £100 million going to buy said player. You've already got them. And as we've complained about as fans going, look how good Man City's academy is. Look how great Chelsea's academy is. Now we're trying to improve it, and that's a bad thing. So I thought that the pushback to that was a bit harsh. What did you make of it, Scott?
Yeah, I'm with you, to be honest. It's not like he's out there saying we want to sell all of. You know, Kobbie Mainoo's not getting in the team at the moment. There's been rumors about him leaving. It's a sore subject. I want to see Mainoo in the team. I do. I think if United do end up selling him, I think they will regret it because I think he's a really good footballer. But like you say, the rules, that's just kind of the way that it is at the moment. But he's not gone out and said that we need to make the academy better in order to sell players. He's not saying that. I think you can see it both ways. For the record, I actually do think United need to get better at selling academy products as well, because you only have to look at City, you have to look at Chelsea for like maybe City are the better example here. But when you're selling players like James McAtee for 30 odd million quid, or like they've had so many down the years that have been on the fringe of Cole Palmer even. You know, probably arguably a mistake that they let him go because he's been so good. But that's how City, regardless of all the issues that they have, that they would never be in danger of like failing FFP because they've nailed that aspect of it as well. And United, like Scott McTominay last year was one of their record sales for like 25 million quid or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they just do. That's the rules of football, really. He's not saying that we need the academy to be better so we can do this. I think you can look at both sides of this. If these players aren't good enough to get in the team, you should be able to sell them for 20 odd million quid. Liverpool, even. they sell players nobody's ever heard of at 20, 25 million quid. And United are missing a trick there.
Yeah, James, do you kind of echo that? They were kind of misinterpreted comments.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there's even more in an article here because he said that in the future he wants the first team squad to be supplemented by more academy graduates in line with the club's history. So when he's talking even about financially, it's both sides. One, academy players are free. The more academy talent you can produce that gets into your team, the better. And that's what he's talking about. That's, he's talked so much about class of 92 and the guys in the past and all of those kinds of things as well. And he says that one of the issues he sees is that not enough players have made it into the first team. So when he's talking about it from the academy perspective and financially, it's twofold. It's that one, yeah, you can sell players. If they're not good enough for United, or you can't use them, you move them on, you make profit on that. That's the current landscape financially. But the other aspect that he was very specifically talking about was get more academy graduates, produce better talent at the club so that we have them in the team. It's a serious problem. We only have Kobbie Mainoo in the team right now. Like, it's not actually just, that is an issue. And it's very easy to look at the academy and say, well, just promote all these players. But there's 16 guys, 20 people there with the job to evaluate the academy and see, are they ready? It's not just the manager, actually, to see, are they ready? And there's been a gulf here. There's been a big gap for some time now. I mean, even Garnacho, we bought him at 16, 17 years old. The guys who are on the verge right now, we bought at 16, 17, 18 years old. There's a big group coming through in the future, but there's been these big gaps where United haven't produced academy talents that are actually good enough for the first team. And we need more of them. We could use more of them. It would be very helpful to have more of them coming through. And I think that's the point just as much. If we don't have to buy 25 players for a 25-man squad, and instead we can have some of them be academy players, that's better for everybody as well. And that's true of most of them. I mean, City, they don't use a ton of academy players, but it certainly helps having Phil Foden and some other guys like that in there. Chelsea have certainly used academy players throughout their history. Even if later on they sold them for more money, like Mason Mount and things like that too. But it would certainly help. It would certainly help.
There's quotas to fill as well, like in Champions, like Europe, in Premier League. There's quotas to fill, so you have to have a certain amount of them. I think at least 4, right? Tom Heaton's still there at the moment, so maybe he counts as the other academy grad.
Yeah, that's true. I think that also as well, just in terms of the academy, I do think there is a bit of a cultural issue there, because we're seeing quite a few players not work out for a variety of reasons at Man United, and I think maybe that's what he's referring to as well. That why is it that people that break into the first team don't tend to last there? Is it because of the pressures? Is it because they don't prepare them for the pressures well enough? Is it because that sort of pipeline isn't as stable as it should be, and and they're not taking care of the players whilst they're growing up the way they should be? I think there's a lot of different academy overhauls that need to happen at United. I think, it's quite speaks volumes, doesn't it, over this last summer, or the last couple of summers, the amount of academy players we have sold, for the right reasons, but also, why are we selling them when we thought they were going to work out initially? I think it does speak quite a lot to maybe what's been going on the last few years to fix. And that was what bothered me with the Garnacho one over the summer, which was, when we saw it in the end, what was it, 40 million? I was thinking, from another Premier League club does that, a player that's played over 100 games, scored in the FA Cup final, I think they get more than 40 million quid for a homegrown player. But we couldn't, and maybe that's because how he's sort of pushed to one side by Amorim, etc. But definitely a point of frustration, and hopefully a point of improvement over the next few years. We've got over 800 people watching. If you haven't already, click the like button. Where we're at in terms of likes, we're at 231. Let's see if we can get them up to 300, 400, 500. If you haven't already. So I mentioned it earlier on. I do want to talk about Harry Maguire You know, we're going from one polarizing topic to another this evening. Harry Maguire, could he be sticking around? Well, according to Fabrizio Romano, Manchester United are in talks with Harry Maguire over a new deal with his existing contract due to expire in June. A face-to-face meeting with his camp took place in recent days. More will follow to discuss conditions. Manchester United rather are happy with Maguire's contribution and his leadership. Of course, his contract was set to expire last season. They triggered the option, and now he's got obviously no time left on his contract. It expires at the end of the season, so they're talking over a new one. James, I'll start with you. Where do you think this one goes? Because, of course, Harry Maguire, unbelievably, he's on his original contract when we signed him way back in
6 plus 1, which is the longest we've ever done. Yeah.
Yep, super long contract. He's on quite a high salary. He's not a regular starter now. He's certainly sort of a backup, even when we're playing a back three. It's not to say he doesn't play, but he does. How do you see this one playing out? Does he take a pay cut and stick around? Should United even try to keep him around, or has it come to an end? What do you think?
I guess I don't see why not in terms of sticking around if he'll take a significant pay cut. I kind of go back and forth. I think United need to sign. It's sort of like, as long as it doesn't stop us from signing a couple new center backs that I think we need, top level center backs, especially like one on the left, you know, another good young one who has high potential like Lenny Yoro would be good. As long as it doesn't stop that, I don't see necessarily the downside of it in terms of keeping him. If it's on significantly reduced wages, you know, if we get back into Europe, there's a lot of games to go. I mean, I would kind of wait and see at the same time. Like, are we going to end up back in Europe? Will we be there? Is there enough games? Because what you don't want going to next season, and for some reason you've got old 33-year-olds kicking around when you don't have those European games taking places from where you'd want to give young players. Otherwise, you're paying them wages for nothing. We kind of ended up in that situation with Johnny Evans extending that extra year. We probably didn't need to extend that one more year, where it's just kind of like, why are you here? No offense to him, because obviously he's working at the club and doing a good job now. But as far as a center back, you're sort of like, well, what are you doing here? We didn't really need you. So I go back and forth. I would wait. I would wait until we see if we have Europe. If we have Europe, there's a lot of games that can come back into the play, especially it's a busier schedule now. There's even more European games than ever. So then it's worthwhile having a little bit of experience, a little bit of presence on reduced wages. I think that's what will happen, but I would kind of hope they wait a little bit until we see where we're going to end up this season.
Scott, what are you saying? Would you keep Maguire? What conditions for him to stay for you, or are there none?
It's got to reflect like James said there, it's got to reflect his position in the squad. I think when we talk significant wage cut and we say the word significant, probably has to be significant. Like, to be honest, like United,
like
he came in, yeah. It's got to be that, because we know, like, even now, like, you wouldn't, like, with Martinez coming back soon, with the fact that he likes Luke Shaw at left centre back at the moment, Aidan Heavens there as well. Maguire is for me, the second choice centre back, you know, even though he played at Brentford the other week, and we obviously know the pitfalls of paying him there in a high line or whatever. They do have that to think about. Look, I think it's a big decision for Maguire as well. Like, does he want to stay with United for another year or two and to try and get them back, or does he want to go play football somewhere? You know, I don't think it's a necessary lock-in that he's going to stay, even though they're talking about it. Maybe he values going and playing for England for the last couple of years of his career. He's going to be 33 by the end of the season. So he's got a big decision to make, really. I don't see... Look, my issue would be if United are renewing him and keeping him as a regular first-team player. I don't think that's something that United should be entertaining. They need more mobility in the backline, especially if they're going to play this three. I would like to see them sign another centre-back in the next year, at least one. We know the first choice back three at the moment. I like De Ligt. I like Yoro. Everybody likes Lenny Yoro as well. You need a bit more depth in there. What I will say, though, is Maguire has... I talk about culture a lot anyway. They seem to like him. The way that he has reacted to all of the stick he had for years on end, I think that's quite admirable. Like, I've got to be honest. I think most people can say that it is admirable the way that he's bounced back from it. You can have a different conversation about whether you think he's good enough for United, but if they value culture and value leadership and value experience in there, then United don't have loads of experienced players that they will be able to rely on, because Casemiro's going to go in the summer as well. They might need to retain a little bit of that moving forward. So it will be conditional for me on the money.
I agree. I think I really don't know how this one goes, because he's on a lot. I mean, he's close to like 200k allegedly, maybe a little bit lower now because we've been out of the Champions League for a couple of seasons. But still, he's one of the highest earners at the club. We have seen a concerted effort from Ineos since they came in, that those that aren't really reflective of their wage, they tend to go. They tend to get moved on, whether it be even prior to Ineos, David De Gea, highest earner, going. Casemiro, going. Marcus Rashford, going. Jadon Sancho, going. All of those names that have been on high wages.
Lindelof, they all left. Yeah.
They all left because the determination
Eriksen,
that doesn't reflect value for money. And I think Maguire falls into that category on £190,000 a week. So you're going, okay, if he's going to stay, you'd have to be a pay cut, which I don't think Harry Maguire would care that much, to be honest, about, your wages is cut. If he agrees to that's his position in the team.
He's not getting that money anywhere else, is he?
No, exactly. He's not going to go to, let's say, Everton and be like, oh, yeah, he's going to get 150k a week. I mean, I know. I mean, but I was of the opinion last season of just don't trigger it. Just let him go. Just move on. Bite the bullet. Even if you're a bit light, but you've kind of moved on. There is this, for all of the credit of him coming back and overcoming the adversity that he faced at United. And I do think a lot of it was obviously way over the line and not really reflective on performance at different points. He had his moment in the sun of being singled out for whatever reason. And I do think that he's actually off the pitch, a very good leader. You only hear positive things about him in and around the club, particularly working with younger players too. All have great things to say about him. I think it speaks volumes that even after he's been stripped of the captaincy, he still ended up captaining Manchester United on occasions during matches or leading them out, because clearly in all of these different regimes, he is a leader-like figure. But there is just something in me just goes, I feel like it maybe has come to a bit of a natural conclusion here, and maybe it's the right time just to go. And he's 33 at the end of the season, a few years left playing in his career. Does he necessarily want to be sitting on the bench for that time, or coming in just to teams? He could still play regularly in the Premier League for another Premier League club every single week and do quite well. I don't know what his England situation is saying anymore, that Gareth Southgate isn't in the role. I feel like Thomas Tuchel's probably moved on from him. But I don't know. I just don't see it. If it was me, I'd be going into, we could maybe spend that money better off elsewhere. But like you say, when it comes to experienced players at the end of the season, who are our experienced players at the end of the season? Because Casemiro's gone. Maguire would possibly be gone. Luke Shaw, he's an experienced
Dalot
player.
would be one of our most. Dalot will be our second longest, is currently our second longest serving player, isn't he?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Really?
Besides Luke Shaw, so which is not much
that
better.
was one of the rationales for some people when they were like about Onana, wasn't it? Going, well, he's experienced, an older guy, he's gone.
I made the case for Maguire, but I'm also tempted to say, why don't we just get rid of everybody who's been here a long time? Because there is a cultural problem and a mindset problem and a trauma that I do think exists among these players. I mean, even Maguire having to fight back through all of that. The memories have to linger, of all the difficult times at United. I get caught in two minds too, of just like, let's just Maguire, Shaw, Dalot. I know I'm going to say Bruno and people are going to protest it, but just everyone who's been here a long time, let's just go. Let's just start.
Maguire should go to Serie A. Honestly, I think he would kill it out there.
Great there. I
think he'd be great.
When Chris Smalling went to Serie A and they were talking about how he was one of the best defenders in Europe at the time, I thought, wow, Maguire going there, he'd be lauded. McTominay has been lauded there as well. Scott will be glad to know as well that it's just over 2 minutes gone in the England-Wales game. England 1-0 up already.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Well, I don't need to rush back.
Yeah, exactly. Already 1-0 to England. I think it's Morgan Rogers with the goal. It's a good start. Good start for Wales.
Never mind.
Yeah, good start. So just very quickly before we do wrap things up, just on obviously the Maguire stuff. If we had to predict at the end of the season, does he stay or go? James, I'll start with you.
I think he'll stay. I think he'll be here. I think we'll get Europe and he'll stay. That's what I think. Yeah.
What Europe though? Because
Europa League. I think we'll get Europa League.
If it's Champions League, then you don't really go like, wow, he needs for
no.
rotation.
If we get Champions League, I would 100. That's why I'm sort of like, let's see where we finish. Because if we're getting Champions League, we need better. We should go just let them all go, let the wages expire, get as much money in the bank as possible, and go out and get some top players for these positions, even depth. We just need top players. But Europa League is my expectation, and I think he'd be a good player. I mean, I think Maguire still does a job in Europa League in most games. He did. I mean, helped us a lot get through the Europa campaign just this last season. So, yeah, I think that's most likely Europa, and he gets a short cut wage contract. That's what I think happened.
I would hope also as well, if he does go, it just removes the desire to bring him on as a substitute and put him up front, which apparently has been the thing for like 5 years or however long it's been. Different managers put Maguire on up front. Maybe we'll actually get, another person that can go up front. Scott, what do you think happens with him? Do you think he stays or goes?
I think he'll renew short term. I've got to be honest. If they're talking to him about it, I think they'll make it happen. I think he should go, though, for his own good. I think he should go somewhere where he can go and win. Like I joked about that Serie A idea just now, and it's not a joke, though. It's not a joke. So somebody's put in the comments, Ashley Young went out to Serie A and won it as well. Scott McTominay was MVP in Serie A last
Sanchez
year.
won a title there, too.
Yeah, like for the good of his own career, I think he could go to Serie A and like have a brilliant end to his career. But I think he'll stay.
Tabaslow says it's admirable to collect bags and refuse to go to West Ham, which is referring to a couple of seasons ago with Maguire, possibly not going to West Ham. He was another one, though, and this is the case. This is another reason why I say I think that they should just let it expire, is because he's one of those names left over from a prior regime where if you try and sell them, no one wants to pay those wages. So you have to bridge the gap, and they just become difficult to do, those exits. And the easiest way is just to let it just completely expire. But I do agree. I think the fact that they are talking and the fact that already, I mean, it's October. I mean, there's loads of time to go before. I know maybe there might be European interests, perhaps from like a Serie A on a pre-contract. Maybe that's why they're trying to do it now. But the fact that they're talking in October says to me that they've probably kind of got to work out a deal, but we shall see. So there you go, guys. It's another episode of Trafford Talk. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. All of the links to everyone's respective channels, socials is in the video description below. So be sure to show some love to James and Scott. Flex and myself will be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. And then we'll have the Trinity later on in the day with KG and Flex and myself. And you never know. By that point, we may have a new investor in Manchester United from the UAE. We'll be a private company, no longer floated on the stock exchange, and we'll be winning the Champions League by that point.
Sure.
Good. Yeah.
Wonders never cease.
Yep. Exactly. Big up. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Big up to James and Scott for joining me, and we'll be back same time next week. We're out there. Peace.